Hey everybody, Movie Review Next Door here, and I'm back with another review. And this time I'm doing another one of those kind of want to shake it up a bit type things. So I'm reviewing two movies with the same name. Again, just like I did with Standoff and Stand Off. I'm doing two movies with exactly the same title. And those would be Abduction from 2011 with Taylor Lautner and Abduction from 2019 with Scott Adkins. So, how I'm going to do this is because also they are in the same genre, I am going to be talking about different aspects of each film, how they measure up to each other in different categories, and basically grade which one is better. Then again, if you've seen my Letterboxd reviews of each films, you already know, but still, thought this could be a fun thing to do. But, um, well, let me start with the casts. Because both of these, this one may be more sci-fi action, and this one may be more like action thriller, like teen type thing. But I can still give them equal judgment. Start off with the cast of Abduction. Abduction stars Taylor Lautner, Lily Collins, Alfred Molina, Sigourney Weaver, Jason Isaacs, and Maria Bello. Pretty alright sounding cast. Um, Taylor Lautner does an alright job in the role. Um, he he's one of those actors that I feel is like people keep saying like a- actresses get sexualized all the time and the only reason they're put in movies for is to be hot. The same people that say that deny that men can't be over sexualized don't know a thing about what they're talking about because people like Taylor Lautner exist. Because Taylor Lautner is an actor that I don't hate. Mostly because I have seen him in a movie where I thought he actually did a pretty admirable job, and that was Tracers. And I will be reviewing this at some point because I do remember actually enjoying it. He did like a lot of his own stunts during the parkour stuff. And I do think that he is a bit, at least this film is a bit underrated. Here, I think they're again mostly relying on his looks because in the behind the scenes they talk about a lot about how they're trying to make this action hero out of him and I just don't see it. Apparently he knows a lot of martial arts, he barely shows it in the film. But acting wise he's okay. Lily Collins, I don't know a ton about her. Uh oh my god, just the time for Letterboxd to fuck up on me. Uh just a second. Lily Collins from Blindside. Apparently, she's going to be in Maxine, Tolkien, Inheritance. She's been in a lot of stuff. She's fine here too. Another kind of teen actress that kind of got big because people thought she was cute and all that, but she doesn't do a terrible job in the film. She has her moments. Alfred Molina, he's fine. Sigourney Weaver, she's fine. I liked Jason Isaacs and Maria Bello, and I wish a little bit more was done with their characters. But overall, I think this cast is kind of wasted because, again, it is one of those films where you're mostly supposed to just care about Taylor Lautner's character and a little bit about the girl that he's trying to save and his whole struggle with his identity and all that. And I understand, but it also feels like they got these names just to have on the poster or to make the film seem better than it actually was. With um on the Scott on excuse me, on this abduction side of things, the cast is Scott Adkins, Andy On, um Chung Nyok An, I might be fucking that up, and Aleong. And most of these actors I'm not aware of. I don't know a lot of them. I think most of them are Vietnamese. But Scott Adkins, I love Scott Adkins. Just because he's the star of a film, that doesn't mean I'm gonna love it. Um, I think he gives an interesting performance here because he, rather than his normal like kind of macho thing, which I'm still super into. I love when he plays the macho character because I believe it. I believe him kicking ass. I believe him destroying all these people and being as quick with his martial arts as he is. I believe it because it's true. But here it's interesting to see kind of a beaten down like amnesiac character that while he still does do his martial arts, you get to see a different side of him, which is nice to see. It's a nice bit of originality from him since most of his films are action films, which it makes sense for most of his films to be action films because he's a martial artist and an actor. And he's a pretty damn good actor when he tries. I have some of his films here. Accident Man, awesome movie. Maybe his best. I'm not 100% on that, but it's got pretty great production values and never felt cheap. Um, Pretty all starry cast for the action world. There's Ninja, which is good, and Ninja 2 Shadow of a Tear, which I think is excellent. It is action packed, and I think all action fans will love it. Um, there's Close Range, which he did with Isaac Florentine. I haven't seen Savage Dog yet. It is a Jesse V. Johnson that I need to see, but Close Range, pretty decent Isaac Florentine film. Pretty short. It doesn't feel like it overstays its welcome. It's 80 minutes. And what I class as his best performance is Avengement, which is like a gritty, like British crime drama thriller where, yes, there is action, but it also mostly focuses on the characters and the dialogue is very witty. And I think Jesse V. Johnson really showed that he can not only do action, but also a very impactful story that can leave you a bit teary at the end. And it's not just me being a pussy. But I do think that Scott is still pretty good in this. And he shares the screen maybe half and half with Andy On, who I do not know, but I didn't mind him here. I liked his acting for the most part. There were times where maybe it felt a bit iffy. But it's not like he couldn't speak English well. I think he's born in America. Uh, yeah, born in Rhode Island. Yeah, he's Chinese American. And he does a great job with his martial arts scenes too. He also has some gunfighting. This isn't like an action film straight up, but when the action is there, it's well done. Um, and the other actress, what's her name again? Trong Nyok An. I don't know how to pronounce that. I can see if I can. No, it doesn't show up. But she was fine. Um, on the acting, I do want to mention. I don't know if I should put this in the filmmaking category or in the acting category, but I guess I'll put it here. There are certain moments of dubbing that are very apparent. And this actress, it seems like she's both doing her own dialogue because it matches up most of the time, and most of the time it feels like it's just her speaking. There are some times where she's clearly speaking a different language and being translated. So I guess either she didn't know a ton of English or she like read the lines phonetically and then they dubbed it. I'm not sure, but there are certain moments where 100% it is not her speaking the line. And that also happens a couple times with Andy On, where it's not that it looks like he's speaking a different language. It's between shots. His voice will change at times to somebody a bit less deep voiced, and it is a bit distracting, I will say. But I'd still say I enjoyed Abduction's acting a bit better. Because again, from a lead standpoint, for sure Scott Adkins and Andy On, because I think they work well together. With the dialogue, even though they don't meet until like over halfway through the film, I do think they work together. I think their martial arts really helps. And again, Taylor Lautner, again, if he had used more of his martial arts, that would be a plus. But he only really gets like one fight scene really in the film. and it's kind of meh. Uh, but yeah, that's one point to Abduction. Um, the action. Both of these films are technically action films. So let me start with Abduction. In terms of action, there is a fight scene between Taylor Lautner's character's parents and these hired goons. It's decently well done. The camera does shake a bit. It was that era. There's a car chase, I guess. I guess you'd call it that, but it's mostly just an expository dump scene, exposition dump scene. There's a scene of them sneaking through a hospital and using balloons in order to cover themselves, which I thought was interesting. I liked it. Um, Near the end, there's a chase through this. No, there's the fight on the train, which I thought was fine. It felt decently brutal, especially for a PG-13. I know I'm comparing a PG-13 film to a film that would most likely be R. I get that. But with martial arts, it's not so much about the brutality and the blood that's flying everywhere, and it's more about the choreography. And if you can land the hits and make it look like it connected. Um, the fight on the train was fine, and near the end, I liked for the most part the chase through PNC Park during the Yankees game. I think it was. Um, but yeah, so all right action for the most part in Abduction. 2011. In Abduction 2019. Um, the action is not the main selling point of this. It is kind of half of an action film, half of a science fiction movie, but still I can grade it because there is plenty of action. There's a fight scene between Scott Adkins and a couple police people, excuse me, police officers. Bleh. That's pretty well done. Um, Pretty nice and brutal. In like, it looks like everything connects. Um, there's a fight between Andy on running out of a building while people are shooting at him. He's shooting at them using his martial arts. Like sometimes there's one guy that he gets in a headlock, like flips into the ground and then shoots him in the head, and I was like, damn, that was nice. And yeah, it's a pretty interesting. Uh, oh yeah, there's a fight that excuse me, Andy On has with one of the alien creatures, where this is one of the few times it makes sense to use fucking wire work, because the alien like spins around and then like spins his hand, spins him, and then he throws him. Um, Near the end, I will say I was expecting it to be very super goofy to the point where they used martial arts to kill the aliens, but that didn't really happen. Um, but still, um, the well, I'm trying to remember more of the action because my mind's a blur. Um, but as it is, the I know it might sound unfair because I'm grading a Scott Adkins movie against a Taylor Lautner film, but again, they did mention that he did martial arts, Taylor Lautner. So I don't really see that as an excuse. You can easily get somebody who can do their own fighting. All you gotta do is look. I'm pretty sure Scott Adkins would graciously accept half the paycheck Taylor Lautner was expecting. So, um, there's no fucking excuse. But I do think Abduction definitely wins. Now, again, if you find it unfair, fine. This is how I'm doing it. It's kind of a spur of the moment thing. That's how I am. I don't like writing scripts. But I do find Scott Adkins and Andy On's action more impactful, more fun, even if there's some pretty not that great CGI blood at times. It's not so apparent that it ruins my enjoyment of the film. Um, Now I get to story. The story of Abduction is that Hunter's character, um, Nathan, ends up doing like a psychology thing and with his friend next door, played by Lily Collins, and it's about missing children. And they look on this website for missing children, and he sees a picture of a child picture of him. And he's like, "Oh, mom and dad, why are there no pictures of me as a kid with y'all in the house? There's just pictures of me as a kid." And he's basically on a search to find out who his real father is, run away from these people trying to kill him, and all of that. Pretty decent setup for a plot. For the most part, I don't think the film delivers on what it could with that plot. It's it's one of those where the first 45-ish minutes I was really enjoying myself with the film, and then after that it dropped off. It while it wasn't boring, it was just a bit monotonous. I knew exactly where it was going to go, and it felt a lot it reminded me a lot of other teen thrillers, and in a way also reminded me of Lifetime films, where they're not doing anything super special. They're not trying to make it stand out, really. There's not really anything in Abduction 2011 that stands out for me. With Abduction 2019, the plot is a British man wakes up in a fountain in Vietnam, and basically he's at the hospital recovering, and it turns out that he has been transported in time about 30 years, and he's looking for his daughter. So basically, he gets the help of it's over 40 years. He gets the help of these people, no, 30, whatever. Gets the help of this doctor and this hitman who is trying to find his own wife, and it apparently their loved ones have been taken by aliens. Not an original plot, but it is interesting seeing a martial arts film take on this, and I think that for the most part, the the film delivers what you'd expect for that. There are some setbacks of some of the CGI doesn't look that amazing. Some of the compositing doesn't hold up. Some of the green screen doesn't look the best. But there is some not great green screen in Abduction as well. But for the most part, it didn't bother me. In Abduction, the story works for what it is. It's nothing spectacular. It's nothing terrible. I'm still giving the point to Abduction 2019 because it's the one with the most consistent story for me and the most consistent enjoyment. And to the CGI, I didn't notice a ton in Abduction 2011, but um, well, I can't really give it to this, or I can't really slag it off for that, other than there's green screen work while they're on the train, and there's green screen while they're in the car. For the most part, for the most part, it didn't feel off to me. It didn't like look terrible or anything. I really didn't notice it. With Abduction 2019, there's plenty of CGI in the CGI blood spurts from gunshots, which aren't that big in the film. You don't see a lot of that. It's mostly off screen. Um, there's these CGI spider things that go on people's necks. They look fine. And the there's like some crystallized effects later in the film that look fine. But for the most part, the CGI holds up. It's okay. Um, I guess it's kind of a tie. Nothing really amazing or bad in either film. Um, the the score, I'd say the same. There's nothing insanely good or insanely bad in either of the films. Their scores Abduction 2011 score by Edward Shearmur, and Abduction 2019 score by Mark Vanaker. Neither of them really stand out, so tie, I guess. And to the overall rating for each, Abduction 2011, it's a film that I have seen before. I gave it the exact same rating. It's not, I don't think it deserves the 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm guessing most critics tore it to pieces. I'm guessing mostly due to the acting from Taylor Lautner. But I don't think it's as terrible as anyone says it is, and but I also don't really see enjoying it that much. Again, the first 45 minutes set up a more interesting story than they end up going for. The villain is super underbaked, and the actor is wasted. Michael Nyqvist, a Swedish actor from the Girl with Dragon Tattoo films, or the Millennium Trilogy, I guess some people call it. And it just kind of devolves into every other trope from teen uh, action thrillers, and yeah, it's not anything special. And Abduction 2019, I don't know if I'll ever watch it again. I will mention that I watched the extended director's cut. I don't know what's different about it. It was about 10 minutes longer. Nothing felt super out of place. There were some bits where the camera quality changed a bit, so maybe that's it. But overall, I enjoyed it. I do think the CGI could be a bit better. I do think Scott Adkins could have a extra fight scene or two. Um, and I do think that the alien threat does kind of not become as threatening as they should. Because by the end, the conflict is kind of solved in a very kind of odd way. Even though the very ending of the film, I did find kind of haunting. I found it to be a very interesting tone that they went for, and it didn't feel out of place. So overall, I if you're a Scott Adkins fan, I'd at least recommend you watch it at least once. I'd at least recommend you watch it once. You might like it, you might not. You might have a big issue with the production values at times. They can be a bit iffy at times, but the martial arts makes up for it in a lot of ways. So yes, this is the one that wins. Also, this one, the Blu-ray fucked up halfway through, so I had to watch the rest of it on Prime. Nothing against the movie, probably just a faulty Blu-ray. The older Lionsgate Blu-rays have been fucking up a lot recently. If you have a Crank or Crank 2 Blu-ray, the original ones and not from another country, then you might have to check them, because apparently there was a Blu-ray update years back that stopped those from playing. But yeah, hope this was an interesting type of video. It's a bit longer than I've been going recently, so hope y'all enjoyed it, and move over your next door.